Hi everybody, welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney, your digital anchor here at 3 News. This is where we cover our top headlines, trending topics, and what we're working on for you right now ahead of our 6 p.m. What Matters Most, 7 p.m. Front Row, and 11 p.m. What's Next broadcasts. It is Wednesday. We are halfway through the week, halfway to the weekend, and we are celebrating a lot of exciting things today. So some of the things that are on the top of everyone's mind today are Aldi's Advent calendars coming back. That just happened this morning, but not for long. So if that's something you're interested in, we'll tell you how you can take advantage of that. And Target unveiling its Black Friday 2019 advertisement with some very early Holideals, as they're calling him. I love a pun. I'm totally here for them calling it that. And there are some really good ones in there, so we're going to tell you a few that caught our eye. And we also have a warning for you on how scammers are using Zelle to steal your money. Now, if you're not familiar with Zelle, Zelle is a person-to-person payment system that banks are using. So it's kind of like Venmo or PayPal, but it's from bank to bank for people who want to send money that way. And then finally, our investigative reporter, Mark Naymik, will join us here on the live stream. He's going to talk to us about ongoing issues with power outages at Cleveland Public Power. His full story will be running in the 11 p.m. What's Next broadcast. We're going to get a preview of that here today with Mark. All right, first up, those Aldi's Advent calendars are back. There were people lined up this morning. We had that in our lunch break show. We have a link on WKYC.com all about that you can check out. My producer Tyler will drop that here in the comments for you so you can check out that story. So previously, Aldi's just had wine and cheese Advent calendars. And if you don't know what an Advent calendar is, that's the calendar that if you celebrate Christmas, you start opening up on December 1st and it counts you down to Christmas Day, and there is a little prize in there. In this case, some wine or some cheese, but now they have other options as well. They have toy options for the kids, they have a couple different beer options, and they have chocolate. Now, these things sold out pretty quickly last year. They're also expected to sell out again this year, but they are not cheap. The wine Advent calendar is $70. The beer Advent calendars are $50, $49.99, and the cheese option is $12.99. So that one's a little bit more affordable. If you do like cheese for the Advent calendar, that might be a good option to get. People were totally lined up today. Now, there is a limit on the wine and beer option. It's 2 calendars per person. So you can't be stocking up on them too much, but you can get 2 of them if you get there before they sell out. All right, some other things that are very exciting when we're thinking about the holiday season is that Target has unveiled its Black Friday 2019 ad with its early Holideals. We also have a story up on that on WKYC.com right now. We will drop that link for you here in the comments so you can check that out if you'd like to check that out. They will be having a Black Friday preview sale this weekend, Friday and Saturday. This is really crucial because we have the shorter shopping season this year. There are 6 less days between Thanksgiving and Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, so there will be less time to get that shopping in between Black Friday and Christmas. So these crucial early deals are very, very helpful. Target says the preview sale this year will have 4 times the number of deals than it had last year. A couple of the items that we know will be available this Friday and Saturday that caught our eye included a TCL 40-inch smart LED Roku TV. Now that is regularly $260. You can pick that up that weekend for $170. Another thing in the tech space that caught our eye in the electronic space, there's a Nikon D3500 camera that you can get for $400. More than half off. That's regularly $850. And I am told by some of our producers here that it's a very nice camera, so that might be worth checking out if you are interested in photography and film. You can also get a $200 Target gift card with any purchase of one of the newest generations of the iPhones. So it's kind of like free money, not really, because you have to buy a new iPhone to get it, but $200, hey, if you're going to buy an iPhone anyway, you might as well take advantage of that. Now that's this Friday and Saturday. You can also get a Beats Solo 3 for $130, which is regularly $300. You know the Beats are not cheap, so also a pretty good deal there. And I think that a lot of life goals for people is to eventually own a Dyson. Those vacuums are incredibly legit. You can get a Dyson V7 Motorhead vacuum for $200, regularly $300, so you're looking at 2/3 of the price of what you would pay for that. and an Instapot. Those are so popular right now. Everybody's using them to make meals. You can get one of those for 65 bucks. It's regularly 100, so not a bad deal on that either. Now here is my favorite though. This is a big one. Customers can get 5% off digital Target gift cards. That actually is free money. You're going to get 5% off on those, so you'll have that much more value on the gift card if you pick that up. So if you're interested in those deals, you can head to Target Friday and Saturday for that. Speaking of money, here is a warning. Scammers are now using Zelle to try to steal your money. Now, as I said at the beginning of the live stream, if you don't know what Zelle is, this is basically a version of Venmo that's being used by banks. We have a story up on the website by Brandon Simmons on WKYC.com right now. We'll drop that link here in the comments for you so you can check that out. This is basically how it works. Now, it's kind of complicated. The scammer will call you using a service to make it look like they're actually calling from a bank. Now, this happened to one of our digital reporters here, and she said that it actually showed up as the bank on the caller ID. They will tell you that they see fraudulent charges on your bank account, and they will use some of your personal information to gain your trust. While you are on the phone with them, they are setting up a Zelle account in your name. So they will get those authorization codes sent to you via text messages on your phone while you're talking to them. And then they will ask you for those authorization codes that come through via text message so that they confirm it and then they can steal your money. Our digital reporter that this happened to here said she lost close to $2,000. She had close to $2,000 stolen from her this way. Now, in those text messages that do come through, if you happen to get sucked into this scam and you're on a phone with one of these scammers, they will say that a bank employee or a Zelle employee will not ask you for these authorization codes. So listen to that warning. Don't give those codes out over the phone. That's our best advice that we can give you. You can read the full detail of what happened in the story on WKYC.com. All right, now we're going to bring in our investigative reporter, Mark Naymik. He's going to tell us what's been going on with Cleveland Public Power. He always has the inside details for us. Mark, thank you for joining us here on the live stream.
I think I'll hold this if that's all right.
Sure.
It's a little hard. Well, I'll try to clip it on here.
Yeah, that works.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on to talk about a story that I have coming up at 11 o'clock tonight, 11 p.m. newscast, which is looking ahead. What's next?
Yep.
So we're going to talk a little about what might be next for Cleveland Public Power. And there are about 72,000 customers in Cleveland. We're one of the rare municipalities that has its own power system.
Right.
Although we really don't generate our own power, we purchase it like everyone else. But we have our own line systems, and it allows Clevelanders to compete directly with First Energy, and for those in Cleveland, we know that's CEI. My story takes a look at the unreliability of the system. Anybody that's been here in the summer of 2018, even in the winter, when we're not in a storm period, because that's pretty much when a line gets knocked down by a tree, that's going to happen. But the power was going out, particularly for people on the west side. Businesses, consumers just going out because it couldn't handle the load. There were, the amount of energy that people needed to run those air conditioners or whatever.
Right.
And the city has said, we got to invest in newer equipment. They have long ignored infrastructure, and it's kind of coming back to haunt them now. The city asked well over almost 2 years ago for a consultant to come in and recommend how much to charge. What's the next rate? And the city hasn't released that study yet. They say it's not done. They say they've asked the consultant to go back to the drawing board and dig deeper into the system. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
Do we know how much these people are paying the customers of Cleveland Public Power versus the customers of First Energy who presumably aren't having their service interrupted?
Yeah, to put this in context, years ago, it was always a better deal. You could save more by using the Cleveland system. And over the course of decades, according to the former mayor, Dennis Kucinich, who I spoke to for this piece, hundreds of millions of dollars have been saved collectively for Clevelanders. But when you look at rates, and you'll see in the piece, rates that are listed in the city's own documents, when they went out for bond to raise money, they list their rates versus the competitor, and you see over time it gets less and less competitive, and in some cases can be more costly. They do serve industrial consumers also. Cleveland generates, uses the power to produce its water system, to run the water system, so it kind of pays itself in that case. So we'll take a look at it. But in 1978, when Dennis Kucinich was mayor, people will remember that he, the city was in great
dire straits
dire
financially,
yes,
right?
right. So part of that was actually Cleveland Public Power. It had problems, both with reliability and it had a lot of debt. And the banks said, sell Cleveland Public Power to First Energy, then was called Cleveland Illuminating Company, CEI, and we'll float you some new loans or turn over the existing loans. Dennis said, no, I'm not giving up the power system. The city went into default. And there's lots of backstory on that, but in the end, in the 80s and 90s, we saw customers did save money, but right now it's not quite the same.
And so we're not sure what's going to happen with these rates necessarily moving forward.
Well, I'm making a strong hedge that they're going to go up, because where else is the money coming from to invest? Because they're promising to increase service, improve that service. Where Cleveland Public Power excels is because they're smaller, they're city-run. They will argue that when power does go out because of a tree limb or a storm, they can get to it faster than CEI could. And that's their claim, that we can still provide better customer service. So even if it's a little bit more expensive, we think it's worth it. I don't know what consumers really think about that, especially if your power is going out in the middle of the summer.
And when it's really hot
when there's no
out.
tree down. And that's another problem that Cleveland Public Power deserves blame for, is that they've not done a good job of keeping up with trimming trees. We know that's always a problem with this. So.
And you said they have about 72,000 customers?
Customers, right. That's and that includes some of their industrial customers. About 60% of the city is in an area that can get Cleveland Public Power. Far northeast side, and then there's some big pockets on the west side, as we know. And then there are some areas of the city where no Cleveland Public Power service is, and they're on the competitor.
So a lot of people to be impacted by this. Mark, thank you so much for diving into this story.
Thanks for letting me go into the weeds.
Absolutely. So Mark will have more on that story in the 11 p.m. What's Next broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us here on 3 News Now. We appreciate you being here in Facebook, in the comments, in the live stream. Make sure you like the page and follow the page so that you know when we go live. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel, wkyc.channel3, and click the bell so you make sure you get notifications every time we go live, and we can keep giving you these 3 News Now updates every afternoon. I'm Stephanie Haney.